Welcome to We're Not Wizards. We are the best, but not wizards. Enjoy the show!
Literally raging with your name.
Why?
Because you know why. You know what you did.
That's the name, right?
I can't believe it.
Fair enough. Yes.
But why would you do that?
I just couldn't. It just first thing it came to my mind.
For the purposes of the tape, Mr. Luke Pryor has decided to call himself on Squadcast Harry, a real wizard, and he's just doing it. He's getting my back up. I saw you doing it for. It's just you're just like one of these. We're gonna have a blank. We're gonna have a blank. This is where I am so just annoyed. Raging. Right, so we're gonna have a gap for silence and then we're gonna do the intro. Okay. Or you do your thing and put the mic on mute, which didn't have the background noise, and then basically the noise reduction didn't work because it was completely on silent and didn't reduce any noise, so I had to find a different bit to reduce the noise on. And you like to talk, Mr. P, so it's very difficult.
I'm trying not to talk, but you keep talking. You just can't make me not respond.
Alright, okay. Hello and welcome to another episode of We're Not Wizards. My name's Richard.
Sorry. My name's Luke. Was that not prayer time?
What?
I thought I was having a little. I thought it was a little moment of silence. You know.
We're doing our Madonna.
Think about my hamster that's gone.
Madonna, Ariana Grande kind of thing. Is this what you're talking about? Where we all gather around and grab our hands. You know. Last time I saw Madonna was when she had that incident with the stairs and the cape.
Oh,
do you remember that?
Just fabulous. Yeah.
I don't know. I can't even remember. I don't know if it was the Grammys or what it was, a Brit Awards or something like that.
Yeah, the Grammys or the Emmys or the. Oh, it might have been the Brits.
It might actually be the Brit Awards.
When you said the Brits, I think it was the Brits.
I just remember it was that moment. It was like watching your nan fall downstairs, basically. When
you could see it coming.
It's just like, oh, she's gone.
You could see it coming, and there was nothing you could do to stop it. And you kind of didn't want to stop it either.
It was like watching a 4-year-old tumble downstairs. It was quite, and she was fine. Do you know what the funniest thing about it is a pure professional? Is that she just
never missed a beat.
She just kept on going, didn't she? She was unstoppable.
Didn't miss a beat.
Absolutely unstoppable.
Did the dancer have to really violently try and get the rest of the cloak off her?
I think it was because of the.
It was the cloak that did it. She caught a cloak on the thing, didn't she? Yeah. And then I think
he pulled her. She was. The dancer was trying to kind of disconnect her cloak. And didn't realise that she hadn't taken it off, and then basically yanked, and then it was like hello. It was like the fallen Madonna.
Fallen Madonna with the big
boobies, and that was actually hello was amazing. It was kind of it was back in the day where it was all good fun, and of course everybody
you couldn't do hello anymore, could you?
I don't know, could you? They did Jojo Rabbit, which was pretty much a serious send-up of kind of what was kind of going on. I think...
I don't think you could get away with it as just regular TV anymore. Not you couldn't put hello where it was in the TV schedule now.
Do you think it'd be a 10 o'clock at night job or something like that?
I think or it'd have to be on a streaming service where they don't care so much, kind of thing. It can be a bit more risque or stuff. I mean... I want to say hello was BBC. It was
David Croft's. It was one of David Croft's finest, I think. After he did Heidi High, he just seemed to. They were it was him. Who was he? I can't remember who he used to write with, but he used to kind of be it was the Stock Aitken and Waterman of his time, where he just used to produce hit after hit. Were they not? He did Allo Allo, they did Heidi High, they did a whole series of what you would call kind of light, kind of
Classic
harmless
family,
entertainment.
family evening Friday TV.
Dad's Army, I think they were maybe involved in as well. I need to have a kind of a
believe
full
that,
list, you know. But anyway.
You remember when the what was the guy who was Rene? What was his name? You remember?
Gordon Kay.
Do you remember when he had that accident, the car crash?
Yeah,
and he got hit in the face by a telegraph pole. And he was really lucky because he actually kind of came out of it a long time later, like relatively unscathed. Because I think they did like a one-off Christmas special or something, didn't they? Years later, which wasn't very good if I remember rightly. But he was in it and was Rene. But there was like
there was a considerable gap
when it happened. It was I mean, he had like this bloody great dent in his forehead.
It was a storm of whatever year it was. Was it not 87 or something like that? Michael Fish came on and famously went kind of like. Now I know there's been rumours. There's been rumours of a storm going to be happening, but we can tell you categorically that's not going to happen. And categorically, it turned out it was a Category 3 or something like that, and it was like huge amounts of kind of storms. And Gordon Kay categorically got hit with a telegraph pole. Yeah, but Allo was kind of like it was kind of like into that let's send up the Germans, but then let's send up the French resistance and stuff like that, and then let's have, funnily enough, Rennie being some kind of unlikely kind of sex symbol. He had all these women kind of chasing after her, and they're doing kind of like all the different kind of accents. You know,
I like that. You might be able to get away with the Allo Allo because if memory serves me, it's been a long time since I watched Allo Allo. It didn't take the piss out of a set of people. It took the piss out of everybody.
Yeah, everybody was up.
It just went. Everybody was a stereotype. Everybody was ridiculous. So it didn't sit there and. It didn't belittle one and lord over another kind of thing. Everybody was ridiculous.
You sit back and you remember it was like everybody, because it used to go like they did used to kind of do the old. I don't know if they said "Hail Hitler." I can't remember if they did.
No, they
just went hail.
The guy who drove the little tank.
Yeah,
he used to go clump. And I think all the rest just went hail.
Hail, they all went hail. Sure. They didn't actually use the digs. They didn't actually the full thing because I think it was still a bit dubious. But you had the French resistance. I shall say this only once, and it was just it was the whole exactly this is it. But it was the whole thing. You had everybody seemed to be after Rennie, and I couldn't figure out for the life. Well, Rennie, today after the war we will get together, and you know. And it was just good. People would look back and go, it's good wholesome telly, but the second thing they would say is you couldn't make that kind of thing nowadays. But I think you can. It is I, Leclerc. So what are you doing, you stupid man?
I was fiddling on my bicycle.
Is that Arthur Bostrom who played the idea he was like the English guy who was pretended to be a French policeman.
He was an undercover British agent who was being a French policeman doing what he thought was a French accent.
I actually thought it was almost a case of having I think it was almost the way they pitched it was actually everybody was speaking their kind of native language. So like Rennie was speaking French. So when Arthur Bostrom came in as this French kind of policeman trying to speak French, he used to come in and obviously mispronounce everything because he wasn't very good as kind of like a spin. Good morning. Good morning. I've noticed that the kit passed all over the limp post. And it was the skill of being able to do it. It was like Les Dawson playing the piano incorrectly. There's a certain skill to being so good at something where basically
I played all the correct notes.
I played all the
correct order.
And he just had the skill of being able to kind of like play absolutely recognisable tunes, but then do that thing where he would then play 3 or 4 notes wrong in quick succession to kind of knock you off kind of thing. You know, oh my goodness! Welcome.
I
to
remember
the
my mum showing me a guy who I can't remember his name, but he was famous for on stage doing that. And he was a real proper pianist, but he had some sort of comedy act as well. And he used to wear the tails, and he'd flick the tails out as he sat down at the piano, and he would do that kind of.
Was that the guy that was going to play the William Tell Overture or something like that? And he started playing it, and it went did-a-dun, 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 dun-dun, and he turned it over and realised he got white hair. He realised he got the music the wrong way around.
Yes, yeah.
He turned it upside down. He went
yeah,
that kind of brilliant.
I remember my mum showing me that years and years ago, and it was fantastic. And I was blown away by somebody doing something really skillfully wrong.
Yes.
It just blew my mind, even when I was that young, as to how talented that was.
That's amazing.
To be able to do that, you know, that takes like being good at something and then being an absolute master of something to be able to pull that off, kind of thing.
I'd like to think that's where we kind of are in terms of our podcasting now, that we have got to the level where we are so good at it, that it's almost at the point is when I make a mistake or when you make a mistake, it is absolutely planned down to the 9th degree. I know we had a couple of script meetings this week, and I'm glad that we ironed out, and I'm glad that you came up with this idea for the 1980s kind of television. It was much.
I'm glad we scrapped the triple somersault thing, because I was never going to pull that off. That had a trip to A&E written all over it.
I was hopeful. Oh, speaking of trips to A&E,
my boy,
you've been there.
My boy,
it's been an eventful
fragile
weekend.
little beggar.
Okay,
third time. He's not even 11, and it's the third time he's broken a wrist. He's done one of them twice and one of them once.
What did he do?
He was at school, and he was playing football and ran after the ball, and he got his feet caught up in some sort of fencing or something that was ironically there to stop the kids hurting themselves on something, but it had fallen over. He got his feet caught at it, and he had his hand like up.
Yeah.
So and literally he did that thing where his feet stopped where they were.
Yeah.
Everything else carried on.
Wow.
So his hand just went from a foot above his head to slamming onto solid concrete at a running pace, so yeah. It was fun. But he's been an absolute trooper. Been a little legend, he has. He did pull a cracker though the other day, because he obviously missed a couple of days of school for x-rays and stuff like that, and fracture clinic. And I think it was Saturday morning, I said to him, what do you miss most at the moment? He's got this cast on his left hand. What do you miss most about you can't do? And he goes, Dad, you have no idea how much it hurts when I try and write. He's right-handed. And I was like, come on, son. It does not hurt you to write with your right hand when you've got a broken left wrist. That does not hurt. You are just trying to figure out how to not have to write shit at school.
Oh, that's amazing.
I admire your efforts.
That's
you could have said play an Xbox or whatever, but no. You went with, maybe this is the chance I can try and get to not have to write anything at school for a few weeks.
I reckon there's probably some kind of WhatsApp group amongst his friends where they've been having this discussion about what should I do? How should I try and kind of get out of this kind of thing? And people it's gone from the sublime to the ridiculous, to the point where it says, well, you could say you've lost balance you've lost balance now. You've no way you can actually kind of physically sit at a table and write with your other hand.
I keep walking towards the left. I just, I can't stop it. I can't walk in a straight line. It's ridiculous.
I can't even get into my classroom just now because I'm so off balance. It's like
the corridors are too thin.
I try to get the bus.
Radiators.
I know. Is he off to? Is he in high school now, or is he about to venture?
No. He's year 5 of primary school.
Oh wow. Okay. Because I had a couple of speaking of birthdays, it was my middle boy's 18th.
Oof.
you know.
Oof.
He's off to uni.
That's a milestone.
He's off to uni.
That's as much. I think it's as much a milestone for a mum and dad as it is for the kid themselves. It's as much as like they're 18. They're technically supposed to be, although a lot of 18-year-olds don't prove this to me on a very often. Technically, a full-blown adult.
It's kind of scary.
And you are the parent of an 18-year-old. That's it. That's just as much. That's just such a
terrifying.
Oh God, you know.
But the other thing is he's a really bright boy. He's actually probably the unsung hero of the entire channel because he's the poor bugger that has to sit down with his father when his father's like, right, we're gonna play this absolutely, you know, not written well, rule rubbished kind of prototype that I've been sent through the mail that I can't understand what's going on. Do you want to sit down and play it with me? And it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I'll do that for you, you know. But it's to see him the fact he's gonna do. You always, I think, as a parent, you kind of want to see your kids kind of surpass yourself. Now, my eldest, I'm very proud of them because they're at university in Aberdeen. They're doing psychology, and they've just gone up. They've got up there. They've sorted themselves out. They'll live in. They're going into the third year. I'm very proud of what they're doing. The middle boy, he's like black belt in karate. He was like deputy kind of captain. You know, I think they don't call it head boy or head girl. It's like kind of head captain or whatever. So he was the deputy. Do you know what I mean? He won like the debating society kind of award. He did, you know. He's done all these things, and now he's going off to potentially go and study law. And I'm just like, you know, you as a parent, you want somebody to kind of like, they want your kids to kind of surpass you. And it's all like, you know, people go, I'm working this hard so you can get a better opportunity than me. And it's like, no, I don't necessarily want you to have a better opportunity than me. I want you to kind of like go surpass kind of where I'm from. So that's why I'm very, very proud of my two eldest two because they've absolutely kind of stormed it. And the youngest one as well, you know, they're all, you know, it's a difficult time. He went through COVID, as probably your boy did, and your youngest as well went through COVID, and it's like we still don't know what the effects on that was. A kids kind of staying out of school for so long. So yeah, interesting.
Yeah, I think both of mine were at just about the right time where it wasn't a big deal, because like Eden was young enough that, like, because she was in preschool and stuff, so. She was young enough that when I thought about it in a really rational sense, I was like, bloody hell, she's been in lockdown for like this, and if you figured it out, like the percentage of the life she's been on this earth, like it was a crazy percentage kind of thing. But then, you know, she was about to start reception at school, so it was like all good, you know, kind of. So she missed a few play dates, basically, you know. Yeah. Whereas then Elliot he'd have been in like year 3 or year 2, probably end of year 2, some of year 3. And I think, again, kind of not at a point in education where, yes, he is learning lots of important stuff, but it was all catch-upable stuff. And a lot of it's kind of almost like stuff where you're guiding them growing, you know. It's like you know, they will learn this stuff one way or another, and you're kind of helping them to learn it, kind of thing. It's the kids that were at like high school and they're doing their GCSEs and, you know, all those sort of kids, you know, or like kids that are like in year sort of 8 and 9 and stuff, where they're really trying to understand how to socially interact as a sort of semi-conscious young adult kind of thing. That's the ones I think that socially could have got really ruined. That we won't. That we'll see the backlash of, kind of thing.
Yeah, we'll see what happens. We'll see what happens,
because they're real formative years, kind of thing. You know.
But we don't know.
I'm pretty sure my daughter should probably never even remember it. Elliot will remember it because he'll remember doing like Zoom classes and stuff like that, you know.
It's same with Jake as well. He'll remember.
My daughter, she won't remember any of it, you know.
No. I think my eldest remember it because they didn't have to necessarily do their exams, and it was kind of like they were taking their exam results based on what they'd done previously in the year, because it was that kind of situation. But and interesting. It's like we sound like a couple of old people.
We are,
but we still know how to have fun, don't we? Please tell me, Mr. Pryor, that you know how to have fun.
I think I do. I think sometimes I should.
I just feel tired. It's like, I don't know. I saw this, was it on Blue Sky today? And Matt, I think it was Matt Thrower, very, very good writer and previous guest a long time ago. But he was like alluding to the fact that he was just like kind of age was catching up, and I just said, I don't feel my body's changed that much. I just wake up and I'm just perpetually bloody tired all the time. I just kind of like. He was alluding to like having a couple of days off. He says, but the next time I'm not going to feel tired is probably when I stop working altogether. And I'm just like, yeah, I kind of like, it's like, I've come to value, and I don't know, you're not obvious, you're younger than me, but I've come to value a good nap. Just a decent, not like a kind of hours and hours, but
I've got
just
a 6-year-old girl. I don't get a nap.
Just a kind of no, it'll come to you, but just a good half hour where you just doze off. Because you always I used to kind of like, see like, relatives and that, and it's like, oh, just leave your granddad alone, he's just gone for like a quick shot, and you're just like, well, why would you sit there and just have a wee sleep to yourself? And now I'm kind of like staring 50, I'm staring 50, staring 50 in the face. I'm kind of like saying, well, we're all plugged in and watching some kind of random thing on the telly. I'm just going to shut my eyes for like 5 minutes, and I think I kind of appreciate going for a wee lie down.
Just thinking about what you said, like, do I know how to have fun? I think there's a slight. I know how to have fun. For me, what I don't think I have the energy or kind of desire to do anymore is entertain someone else outside of my kids.
Yes,
I think like if an event relied on me being the one to kind of gee it up and be the entertainer of it, and kind of I'd be like, well, then it's not happening. I can't be asked. If you can't entertain yourselves and have fun for yourself, you don't need me to do it for you, kind of thing. I think it's that kind of like, I've got 2 kids to entertain. I don't need to entertain you, a grown adult kind of thing.
It's like 50th birthday parties at the moment. That's the big thing this year, because everybody that was born in 74 is turning 50. So there's a lot of people I know, and my birthday is in December. That's for everybody listening. If you're planning on something big, sending me stuff, then you've got 7 months roughly. It's 21st. But at the same time, my missus,
bundle it in with your Christmas present.
My missus is sitting down and going, what do you want to do? Do you want to have, people around? Do you want to have a meal? And I'm like, do you know what? To be honest, I can't be arsed. I can't, you know what I mean? I want a meal with as few people as possible, where I don't have to kind of like, I don't want to sound gracious and appreciative of everything that happens. It's Christmas time. Everybody's got money they've got to be spent. Money's tight. People they've got office parties left, right and centre. I don't know. It's the fact to me, like you say, it's the fact to me being kind of got to be like kind of excitable and happy and friendly and fun, and I'm just like, I kind of
it's that it's mustering up the energy for it. You've only got so much energy to give, and to give it to somebody else seems like
I'm like off for a nap. My mate, and I've been mates. One of my mates, and it's kind of like he's one of these mates that you don't see him for like months at a time, and you're gonna have a coffee, and it's like you can just. It's like you speak to them a couple of months later, go meet them for a coffee, and then everything's just back as it was. It's almost like you've been halfway through a conversation, you've walked out the room, but for like 6 weeks, and then come back in and continued the conversation, and it's like nothing's going to happen. So we've been talking about going out for a pint, and with my kind of various intolerances, that's going to be absolutely so much fun. I'm going to be like basically on tequila, I think is what I can drink, so that'll be a fun night. But it's kind of like we're kind of having this. Oh yeah, we should go out. It'd be like old times and go out and have a few beers and have a laugh and just end up. And I'm just like, first of all, I'm already thinking, how am I going to get home after this monstrosity?
Will you get home after this monstrosity?
Secondly, if I have too much to drink, how am I going to deal with the day after? Because I don't know what being hungover is like. I don't generally have a drink, so I have no idea. Am I going to be dead? Basically, am I going to die? And so there's that. Am I going to be cold? Because it depends when we're going to go. Do I need to have a jacket? And what's the etiquette now? I mean, are you allowed to kind of like have a dance? Because I used to go out and we used to like.
You go clubbing?
Oh yeah.
Jesus Christ.
Exactly. Exactly.
You're gonna if you're starting to feel 50, you're gonna fucking feel 50 by the time you go clubbing, because you'll be there like, who are all these kids?
I'm pretty sure the bouncer will come up to me and be like, so who you here to pick up then? Is it your son or your daughter?
Yeah, let me see your bus pass. Come on.
Exactly. It's Jurassic Park's Wednesday night, mate. That's true. There used to be a club in Edinburgh. I can't remember what it was called, but they used to have a famous night where Wednesday night was called Jurassic Park, because it was when you just used to go along as like a 20-year-old guy, kind of like looking swish and stuff like that. But it was when it was kind of known for when the older women, and when I mean older women,
the dinosaurs,
basically
Jesus Christ,
the 30-year-olds, right? And you could go in and you could never. I know exactly, and you would never ever want for a drink. You know what I mean? We used to joke about it. It was called Jurassic Park because it was scary. It was absolutely scary. You've never, because like when you're young.
Jurassic Park, I can't get over that.
That's
genius, but also horrible.
It wasn't. That was what it was called. It wasn't actually called that, but that's what we called it.
No,
but at the same time, it was the scariest thing, because I tell you something, if you were a young single guy, these women knew what they wanted. And
I'd tear you to pieces.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I must have lost about 2.5 friends. One of them is like, oh, she's got his arm off. That was it. It was a different time. It was a gentler time. Anyway, speaking of animals ripping people's arms off, how are you getting on with Oathsworn?
Good, very good. Yeah, really good. Yeah, we started the second half basically on Friday. Right. So we've done the story bit of Encounter 12, and then we shall be doing the action bit of Encounter 12 on Wednesday, all being well. And yeah, we're loving it. We said. We were saying the other night, that we were playing a kind of similar-esque campaign game before, and just every time we were just like, oh, I don't know, it's good, but it's a bit too hard, and it's blah blah blah. I'm not gonna say what it was, but we're just not with this at all. With Oathsworn, exactly the opposite. We really look forward to it. We don't feel like we're slogging through it or anything like that. We're just really enjoying all of it. It's great.
Is it particularly difficult to kind of play? Because one of the things about the campaign is, because it is a proper campaign game, is there as much upkeep as I've heard about things like Frosthaven and stuff like that, or is the story kind of
upkeep? I don't think there's any upkeep. What would you class as upkeep in something like that?
When between games, doing an awful lot of leveling up and figuring up your leveling up.
Oh God, no. And so in Oathsworn, you each character has like a deck of cards, and before each game, before each encounter, you decide you can only have like 7 cards, and they the actions that you use to fight and do stuff in the sort of combat aspect of it, and everybody starts with I think most of the characters start with just, there you go, they're your starting cards, and then at level 5 and your level is just the next encounter. You don't level up as such, or you don't have to do anything to level up. You just naturally get a bit more higher level every encounter. So like I think it's encounter 5 you get some more cards given to you as options, then level 10 you get some more, and then I think we get some more at level 15, and that's it. And then like there's decks of cards of common items for each level, so they get progressively more. Each encounter has a small set of unique items as well, which are often like, if you fight some big heavy armored dude, it might be his armor or like the mace of this tribal chief or something like that, kind of thing, or an axe fashioned out of the horn of this beast that you slayed, sort of thing. So depending on how you did, depends on how many of those unique items you get and stuff. Then you use these counters in the game to like buff your attacks or your defense, or like do some rerolls and stuff. And when it's certain points in the throughout the campaign, you get to you get access to more of those each round, sort of thing. So we were doing it slightly wrong, so we kind of penalised ourselves. But so we kind of tried to balance it back out, kind of thing.
But there's not like stuff where you're kind of like, you've got to do an entire section where it's kind of like stories and then progressing that and then adding stickers here.
Well, so each section, each chapter, is a story and then an encounter. So do 1 week we do the story, next week we do the encounter.
Right. Okay.
Which is the fight. When we first started, we could do both in one night, and I think we got to I think about encounter like 5 or something, like 5 or 6 before we were like the story bit became too long and the encounter bit became too long to do it in one night. So we just started doing it one by one, which worked really well, because some of the stories, like the first few encounter story bits were fine. They were just good story, just setting the world up, sort of who you were within the world and stuff like that. And you made some interesting choices. Felt like a really kind of solidly put together but simple choose your own adventure kind of style of bit of game. Yeah. But then there's been some in the last sort of 12 encounters that really did some stuff that we were just not expecting at all. Kind of puzzly, and you did some really cool stuff within it. So it felt like you've had a proper game night kind of thing. Even just doing the story bit, and then the encounters, they're great as well, because I mean, like, each thing we fought, some of them have been biblically hard to the point where it was a bit ridiculous. There's been like 2 that were either we missed something, but I've even looked online and lots of people had the same thing, were just like, there was something wrong with the balancing in this one, the maths didn't work out, kind of thing. But we still had fun, still did it. But they're all really different, really tactical.
See, in that situation, are you tempted to ever house roll something just to keep the fun kind of going? Because I've played games where it's like, and I'll bring one up. The original Dark Souls board game, which is like, it's quite literally, people have like, I mean, I know that they've released a new version, which is the Ring City, and apparently it's come out with new rules, which is wonderful. But when I played the original Dark Souls, I kind of enjoyed it, provided that you had to house roll certain things, because everything in it was kind of fairly random. And the issue that I had with the combat was that you had to play it like Dark Souls. You had to pretty much run all the way through the minions before you could get to the big bad again, kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so at the end of the day, we ended up saying, right, okay, well, these guys are just going to stay dead. We're not going to bother, kind of like, we're going to seed the deck a bit so that we're going to make sure, right, you've got a knight, I've got a cleric, let's make sure that the first 4 or 5 equipment cards are actually equipment that we're going to be able to use, because otherwise we're going to get to that kind of big bad. With like Oathsworn, have you got the ability to kind of go, well, actually, let's just say that for narrative purposes, and so we're not kind of slogging through this all again, that we're just, this counts or this is fine kind of thing? Or have you not felt you had to do that?
There's definitely been like a couple of little instances where like a rule or something like that, we weren't sure what it meant or something like that, or like little circumstances have come up. We're like, well, hang on a minute, how does... And what we usually try and do is just go, there we go, that's an answer to it.
Yeah.
Move on, carry on, forgotten about it 2 minutes later. Or, well, if we read the rule as it's written, then that seems either ridiculously difficult and massively punishing and also not thematic. Whereas if you read it like this, which I'm not sure is how you're supposed to read it, but you could read it like this, that actually seems to make more sense. So we'll do that. And so we just very quickly just go, yeah, we'll do that. We just make a decision and move on, because we're just trying to have fun.
Yeah.
We don't, if we've broken a rule here or there, who gives a shit?
Exactly.
It's like, I had a similar thing with my son. I've been playing Jedi Survivor because it came up on Game Pass, and he was playing a game, and I forget what it was, but he said about the whole kind of like, the challenge or whatever, and I said, when I picked the difficulty when I was playing Jedi Survivor, and it was at the normal difficulty level, and I put it down one, because the previous, this is the sequel, the first game, there were some bits where it was just so annoyingly difficult.
Yeah,
it was like for God's sake kind of thing. So this one, I just put it down a level, and I just said, like, I just want to have fun. I just want to be a dude jumping about, swinging a lightsaber. Yeah. If I beat it on the higher difficulty level, I get no satisfaction out of that whatsoever. But I know it's going to have a really cool story and really loads of cool cinematic stuff in it, and that's what I want to enjoy. My difficulty level makes I don't want it to be just walk through it, but I don't also want to have to redo a bit 3 times because I'm a 42-year-old man who's not quite as sharp as he used to be.
I rent games, so I rent games for the PlayStation, and the number of games.
I didn't even know you could still do that.
Yeah, a place called Boomerang Rentals. That's boomerangrentals.co.uk.
What a clever name.
And you rent games, you pay like about $10 a month or something like that, and you can have a certain number of games. So I just rent games, but I get games in and I put them on kind of the lowest difficulty I can get. I have played a platinumed Horizon Zero Dawn after a long time. I think I looked to the first time I got a trophy on that, and it was 2017. So 7 years later, about 2 months ago, I platinumed Horizon Zero Dawn, and I just stuck it on the lowest difficulty possible. Had the best time ever. Played all the way through the game, got all the different endings that I needed to, and platinumed the game. But then I got like the new Prince of Persia kind of Metroidvania type game. I just dumped that down to zero with, zero silly easy difficulty with like enemies doing as little damage as possible. I had the best time. I don't need to prove it to you. I also got the platinum in Sekiro as well, which you can't change the difficulty, which you have to get good at, and it's that type of game. But in order for a game to do that, for me to want to bust through it, the balance has got to be almost perfect. In Sekiro, the balance was also perfect. I played Jedi Survivor, and I've got it. It's actually, I think it's there on the PlayStation to go. Or was it the previous one, Outcast or whatever? I don't know. But I put that on easiest difficulty. Yeah, I put that on easiest difficulty. Because I got the same thing as you. I started fighting this guy in a cave or something like that. I just kept getting my arse kicked, and I just like, nah, I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm not, I can't. Like
I said, I like to be challenged, but I don't want to just, I don't want to just feel like I just pressed a few buttons and, oh, that happened. I like to think, oh yeah, right, I had to get that, but I don't want to have to do that. That's why I've never played any of the Dark Souls, like Elden Ring and Dark Souls and Bloodborne or whatever they're called. I've never played it because the concept of it just sounds awful to me. I'm sure I'd enjoy them to a degree.
Yes.
Well, in fact, no, I won't enjoy them to a degree because I tried. Is it Life of Pi?
Liza P. Yeah, Liza P. Yeah.
Liza P. Which is, from my understanding, is Elden Ring, Dark Souls-esque.
Yeah, I mean it is. Yeah.
And I literally died 4 times in the first 100 yards of the game, and I just went, fuck this shit, and I can't bother with it. I could just see the writing on the wall, and I was like, it's beautiful, and I could tell it's got a cool combat system, but I don't have time. I haven't got time for this. I don't get a lot of time to sit down and play Xbox or whatever, so I don't have time to do that, kind of thing.
I finished Liza P. I had kind of my love and hate for that game was like a sine wave. Because there was so many bits, it's like you get games that are trying to be a certain thing and copycatting something because they like it, and then I think there's a difference between copycatting something and there's also something it's like and copycatting something but understanding why you're copycatting it. And the problem with Lies of P was there was too many bits where they obviously appreciated what other Soulsborne games had done, but didn't understand what made that part enjoyable. So there was parts of it where you were just like, I am looking for a way to potentially cheese this boss as easy as possible. I mean, once you got it, and I ended up putting up a couple of videos of the boss fights because I really got into it and I really enjoyed it. But then I love, Elden Ring to me was, I've put 130 hours into Elden Ring. I absolutely loved it. It was the game I played in 2022 when it came out. I loved it to bits. But I understand it's like you can bounce off that like nobody's kind of business. It's not a very kind of good or nice kind of situation to be in. I guess let's talk about what I've been playing.
What have you been playing? I know what you've not been playing.
Tell him.
Should we bring us in?
Okay.
Don't, just admit it. What have you not been playing, Richard?
Mythic Battles, Luke. I have not
Scumbag.
I have not been playing Mythic Battles.
Why have you not been playing, Richard?
Do you know what? I know something else as well. I've not even taken out the shrink.
For God's sake, Richard.
I've not even opened the box.
I will turn this podcast around.
I'm only doing it just to kind of like cause maximum
offense. To be fair, I can understand why you haven't, because I mean it's not like I've ever really championed the game. I don't talk about it very much. I've never particularly said what an exquisite frigging game it is. And how you'd be a fucking fool not to have played it or even opened the copy that you have.
But then I could open it and then it would sit there and it would still be open. I mean, you know what I mean? There's no need I can see a little vein in your head kind of popping up,
Yeah, you'd open it and you'd look at it all and you'd be like, God, he's right. This looks fabulous. That bugger knows something.
But then I'd need to learn it and play it and stuff like that. And I don't know anybody who could teach me how to play the game, I wouldn't have anybody I could send messages to Facebook and say, how does this work?
Of course you can do that. God's sake.
I don't have anyone like that who could help me, Mr. Pryor. Do you know?
I know for a fact that you know somebody nearby as well who I'm pretty sure you said has it.
Yeah.
And yes, you could definitely message me at any point and clarify a rule.
Okay. I will promise you that I will take the box out the cupboard, look at it, give it a dusting down, because it's probably getting dusty now, and put it back in the cupboard again.
Stuffed it in a cupboard as well.
It's in my games cupboard. It's got a I've sent you pictures about where it is, Mr. Pryor. I've sent you actual pictures that I actually cleaned out a space. What's that? Is that a picture of me?
Dionysus.
Why are you sending? Why are you making models of me and putting them on camera? That's quite, I'm quite gifted. Oh, there you go. And at least I've got a towel on.
Carried by his
Dionysus.
Bones.
I always liked in Terry Pratchett there was the Bilious, who's the god of hangovers. Oh wow!
Judges of the underworld.
Look at that. Look at that. And for the purposes of the tape, Luke's holding up various figurines to the cameras that we're never ever going to show unless he like puts a picture on some kind of social media to show us. Have you ventured into either the worlds of Star Wars or Lorcana? Have you heard of Star Wars Unlimited? Have you tried it?
Slightly ventured into. I haven't tried Star Wars Unlimited, which is kind of silly because as you know, I'm a
huge,
big die-hard Star Wars fan. But I have this funny thing where I think when you love something, when there's so much of it, you can't have all of it.
Yes.
And I think for some reason, I think also, to be fair, I just never really saw Star Wars Unlimited to pick it up and just go, fuck it, yeah, all right, I'll get the starter set. I'll get the 2-player starter set. I think other than when I was at Aircon, I think I saw it there. So I could have picked it up there. But, I literally only walked through the vendor's hall once as I was leaving, just had a very quick cursory look.
Because you're having so much fun.
But I've got some Lorcana. Me and Elliot have played some Lorcana. We haven't played very much of it.
Right.
But, I've still picked up a whole load of it as well.
Yeah, I think you're just like me. Is this in Tesco's?
Yeah.
So picking
exactly
up
that. It was in Tesco's.
Picking up Lorcana is literally like, right, tin of beans, loaf of bread, into the Inklands kind of thing. You just put it in the basket and you're kind of away, and they're selling all the blister packs, and it seems to be wildly, crazily available. You walk into Tesco's, they've basically got an entire section, which in my Tesco's, they've got like half a shelf, which is like, here's the latest kind of big packs, and here's all the little booster packs you can buy at $5 a shot. And I'm just like, no, I'm not getting any more.
I wonder if that's about to stop though, because my Tesco's are all their toys and everything are reduced because they're now becoming, the toy section is becoming the. Do you know the Entertainer, the shop, the Entertainer?
Yeah, I'm aware of them. Yeah,
that's all the Tesco's near me are now becoming the Entertainer. Oh. They've all got big things on them. I don't know how's that going to work, because one of the things, I didn't mean to go so high pitched. It's just the Entertainer lineup. You did get quite dramatic about that.
But no, and his reasoning behind it is because we have got an Entertainer in the town, and the Entertainer they don't open on a Sunday. Because
which I like,
because the family that owns the Entertainer are, they love a bit of their Christianity, and therefore don't open on the Sabbath, which is completely understandable. But if they are then going to be supplying Tesco's, I wonder how that is, if they're just going to be supplying the toys and games, or if
I think it's just it's just their line then. Of they're just that's it. Okay. That's all it is.
Okay.
But my Entertainer doesn't have Lorcana in it.
I wonder maybe if they've not got they do. But what do you think of Lorcana?
I really enjoyed it. We like I said, we only really played the very first couple of starter decks and stuff. We've got a whole load of boosters and stuff to build decks and stuff. But I like what it was trying to do. I think it's a nice simple system. From what I gather, you pick, when you do deck building, you pick a colour, don't you, or 2 colours?
Yeah, you can pick up to 2 different. There's 2 different colours.
Up to 2 different colours, yeah.
And I'm gonna
and
let me just put.
I think I haven't got a good enough knowledge of cards to sit there and go, oh yeah, okay, there's some combinations there and stuff like that, or that would work really nicely with that card and stuff like that. But the cards themselves are all simple. I love the look of it, the style of it, and look of it. Beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I like what is it when you
try to get 30, I think it's 30 lore or all in total.
30 lore, that's it.
Yeah.
And the characters go out, don't they, to get lore. And then that means that.
Well, it's 20. It's 20. It's 20. I'm being an idiot, basically. That's normal.
And then, but once they do that, they are vulnerable to attack in your opponent's turn, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of strange. It's almost like,
I quite like that push and pull of like, oh, I need to do that, but they're vulnerable and stuff like that.
Well, most of the cards have got like they've got almost like little diamond symbols, which are your lore, and if you exert them, then you basically count that towards your overall lore value. And if you get your 20, then you kind of win the game. You can obviously move that up and down as you see fit if you want a slow game or a quick game. But you're right. It's called exerting yourself. They're not allowed to, because of obviously Wizards of the Coast and Magic, you can't say tap. You know what I mean? Which is ridiculous. But
I say tap.
I say
because
tap. I say tap. I sometimes phone up Wizards. This is a confession, and just go, oh look, I'm just tapping. Tap, 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 tap. Hours on end. Voicemail messages. I'm tapping this. You know, I'm just playing some Ashes Reborn. I better tap these cards. Oh look, there's some Star Wars Unlimited. Guess what I'm doing? Tapping them. But you exert them, and you're right. You can only attack a character when they're exerted. So it's basically saying, so you end up with like a full. You don't have like a leader character. You basically you play characters using your ink. And so you lay cards, and this seems to be...
Oh, that I like. You use cards for their...
For resources, basically.
Value.
Yeah. So
I like that as well. Yeah.
So you turn a card over face down and it becomes ink, and then you basically gain more ink as time goes on because you're able to add kind of cards to your ink for resources, and then you basically will spend the ink to bring in a character. You can't use a character until the following round because apparently they're drying while they're waiting. And in order to get lore, you've got to exert a character. If you exert a character, then they become open for attack, which I really, really like because I like the fact that you can't attack or go ahead and attack a ready character. It's almost like you've made the decision. You can either go ahead and attack other characters if you're ready, but somebody else can't attack you if you're ready. Which I kind of liked. I did like the artwork a lot though.
Also, one of the things I like about it is you can't do what you could do in a lot of like Magic and stuff like that, where you could make decks that were basically like turtle decks. So you would destroy the person by loads of different means.
Yeah.
But you would just have a wall of stuff in front to keep you protected.
Yeah.
But the damage bit coming at you was coming from stuff that you could, they might have zaps or enchantments and stuff like that. So it was like you're getting damaged, but you keep coming up against a brick wall trying to do the damage. Whereas in Lorcana, for them to do the damage to you, which is basically them getting lore, it's them getting lore is the same as you having a life total. It's they've just done it in a slightly nicer way. They've made it sound less aggressive, basically. But yeah, so if you want to go out and win, you have to put your stuff in vulnerable places.
Yes.
You can't just hide behind it and still win.
And you can't be overly aggressive. If you just keep everybody ready, you can continually attack people. I think the idea is that it's easy. It gets to the point where it's pretty easy to have a line of characters.
Yeah.
And you just can't go ahead and just kind of continually exert your cards for lore. You've got to go after kind of like the other person, because there are some cards, and we notice, and this is where it kind of maybe gets into the deck building, but we noticed for the decks that we played, there was like one of the characters was like Pongo from 101 Dalmatians, and they basically had you could only attack them if they had an evasive maneuver, and you could only attack them if your card had evasive. But depending on the deck you have, if your deck didn't have evasive in it, then Pongo basically sat there and kind of like was kind of attacking for lore all the time, which I found a bit unfair. I'm not sure where it lies in terms of I think it differs from Star Wars Unlimited, and in fact I think you can quite happily have a deck and not have to worry about going down the deck building route. I think you could quite happily buy
Lorcana or Unlimited?
Yeah, on Lorcana you could buy like all the starter decks for Lorcana, and you could be playing that, and you could never have to worry about maybe building your own deck or switching out cards. It's really interesting because I'm going to say this to you now. You playing Lorcana is going to mean that you're going to find playing Star Wars Unlimited really, really easy because it uses exactly the same resources. So basically, on your turn, and this is why, because I was like, okay, I'm going to reading the Lorcana rulebook, okay, and you need to put ink down, okay, and that ink dries. But then on Star Wars Unlimited, what you do is you start the game, you've got 6 cards, and you put 2 face down. So you're sacrificing cards that you can't play in your hand, and they count towards as your resources. So it moves it away from kind of like Magic and using lands, which are allowed to play, and even it's almost like Flesh and Blood. Flesh and Blood does the same thing, where you're basically sacrificing cards for their kind of resource value, not to allow you to kind of play cards, basically. And so Star Wars Unlimited does exactly the same. You put down cards, they act as your resources. But unlike Lorcana, you have a leader. So the main 2 decks, you've got Skywalker and you've got Vader. But both Skywalker and Vader start off as kind of like, they start off as landscape leader cards, and they offer like a special move. So basically Luke Skywalker allows you to basically use an action, and it allows you to add a shield to one of your units. Darth Vader basically allows you to use an action, but what it does is Darth Vader then attacks the base, because you have an actual base that you're attacking your opponent's base, and also allows you to attack another unit. But then once you have a certain amount of energy in front of you, you can then play them as leader characters, so they flip round to their portrait version, and you actually put them on the field as either, depending on the characters you have, they usually end up as a ground unit, but you also get space units as well. So you're fielding kind of like space units. So if you're Luke Skywalker, you're fielding like X-Wings and Y-Wings. And, if you get lucky, I've got the Millennium Falcon, which is like a leader, which is a legendary card, which is worth silly amounts of money. Then you move Luke Skywalker from being kind of like your leader landscape to your leader portrait, where they're able to they have like attack points and defense points. So it's quite similar in terms of the energy and stuff like that, how it works as Lorcana. It is 100 times more aggressive though. And also it is definitely, and this is something that I found, is that it is definitely designed for you to be absolutely redesigning your deck, because it's, do you know how you play a game and you don't feel it's 100% kind of balanced? And I'm not 100% convinced that the core decks for both Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader are...
Well, I remember you saying Darth Vader came with the Emperor.
Yes.
Darth Vader's ridiculously powerful. The Emperor's ridiculously powerful. Yes. And Luke's powerful, but Leia's like Bobbins. Not particularly powerful.
Leia's got she's got like an attack of 2 and a defense of 2. And you're just like, this isn't too great. But you feel encouraged to kind of like, it definitely feels like it feels more like a pay to win kind of game. Whereas if you're going into a competition with this, you're going to have certain cards, which obviously drives up the market value. Interestingly enough, based on the launch between the two of them, while Lorcana is available everywhere, it appears that Star Wars Unlimited, it's like hen's teeth. It's really, really difficult to kind of get hold of now.
Yeah.
It's almost impossible to kind of get boosters. I think between the two of them, if you're wanting to have like a casual approach to kind of card games, I think Lorcana, wonderful, fine. You could buy 2 or 3 starter decks and have the best time. I think
it's like there's been 3 starter decks for each set now. They're on the 3rd set, right?
Yeah, something like that.
So there's been 3 starter decks, and that's the approach. If you want it to be an accessible card game, you have a really good booster, run, and solid starter decks, so that it ticks the boxes for everyone. If you want to build custom decks, have at it. There's a whole shitload of boosters and a nice catalogue of cards for this set. If you don't want to do all that, here's 3 cool little starter decks that will sort you out, and they all work a little bit different, and
you'll play and you'll have fun. You'll have absolute fun. Whereas unlimited, I think you'll end up spending a fortune trying to get a deck where you feel confidence. This is what I'm talking about. It's the confidence for you to be able to come back from what you feel is insurmountable odds. And I felt like in Lorcana, you could come back kind of whatever the weather, that you always had an ability to create lore. You always had an ability if you wanted to attack. If somebody else was creating lore, then you could go ahead and attack and remove them. There was one situation where I was playing, I was very proud I managed to get my youngest to play kind of Star Wars Unlimited. But I managed within the case space of like 2 turns to field, well, it wasn't 2 because it was Luke Skywalker fielded, so it was maybe around 6. And Luke kind of came out, but I managed to put a shield on him. I managed to get his lightsaber on him. I managed to basically have him kind of going full fettle, and he was attacking for 9 and defending for 10. Now the base that you're going up against has like a base value of about like 30. So it was like there was absolutely nothing. There was very little anybody could, that Jake could do, to the point he was like, well, why should I play? Because and he had an AT-AT, he had Darth Vader, and Darth Vader had his lightsaber. But I was able to kind of like say, well, that's fine. If I attack Darth Vader, I've got a shield. So normally you exchange kind of attacks. But if you've got a shield on, then any damage that you do back to me just doesn't count. It gets kind of wiped out.
Wow.
So you could go in and attack. And I just took out Vader, and he's like, this game's shit. And he walked away, and I was like, yeah, okay. He's 11. I don't know if I can accept that language, but it's kind of fine. So it's different levels, isn't it? I mean, there's TeeCeeGees different levels. Lorcana is obviously, it's in Tesco's. Unlimited is, my mate was playing it at Mox in the Hole. He went and played it. Yeah. They're going to end up being show sponsors at this rate. I'm going to every single time we mentioned them. Mentioned last time as well, but there we go.
He was actually playing at Mox in the Hole.
Yeah, he was playing in a tournament at Mox in the Hole. It's really funny. I'm not going to say his name yet, but when I was at Tabletop Scotland, I was demoing for Hachette, having the best time. And he came up to me and says, oh, how you doing and stuff like that. And me got my demoing hat on. I'm like, yeah, I'm just going to be friendly. Yeah, fine. And then I'm walking the dog on Monday, and he's only standing outside his house, which is 3 doors up from me. So like, what the... Because first of all, you're like, oh, here we go. I didn't realise I was that famous. I was getting stalker. And then it was like, it turns out he's my neighbour, so he's been coming along to the games club, and we've been kind of played Star Wars Unlimited a bit. And
best buddies now.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, it's
nice.
It's kind of like
That's nice.
It's kind of strange, isn't it? It's like board gaming, bringing people together since 1978, and before then. What else you been playing then?
Played some really good. I introduced one of my mates to UnMatched the other night.
Ooh,
because I've been picking up a whole load of it lately. And it's such a. I take it you played UnMatched?
Yeah, I've played UnMatched. Yeah.
Yeah.
Played the Medusa Sinbad Alice in Wonderland version.
Yeah, that's the first starter set. And then they've got a new starter set which came out, which is Achilles, a Japanese person that I didn't know, and I think a sort of Chinesey one that I didn't know. Oh, Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary's in this latest one. Really cool, real dark artwork. It's she looks like the girl from The Ring.
Oh, okay.
In all of it, and all of the artwork's black and white or streaks of red from the blood.
No, I don't want that.
Her deck's really cool because it's all about 3. So all about like if you're taking 3 actions, because obviously you stand in front of a mirror, you say Bloody Mary 3 times, turn around 3 times, or whatever it is. So her deck's really clever. It's all about like if this is your 3rd action, or 3 3 3 3 3 3. And she was really, really powerful, and so yeah, I think UnMatched is so brilliant. It like all of the. I don't think I've played a character I don't like.
See, that is unusual.
Yeah, I mean, I've got certainly ones that I prefer, and I like them more. But and it's a good game because it's one of those ones where, like, it's not balanced. It can't be balanced because they all work so differently, and by their very nature, some of them are unmatched. Whereas you can get some where it's a cracking fight. You know, they really kind of play off against each other, and like their strength is the other's weakness, and vice versa, kind of thing. But the game plays so kind of quick that you can have a fight and you just go, you know, so and so does not do well against Dracula or whatever. You know, you have me over a barrel from start to finish. But it took 15 minutes, 20 minutes. All right, pick a new character. Let's go again. You know, kind of thing.
I like that.
And that's great. You know.
Yeah, I like that. I like that. I got
and we did have Bigfoot versus three raptors from Jurassic Park at one point, which was a showdown of the ages. That's the movie we've all been waiting for. And yeah, it's just great. And it's, I mean, like he first game, I just said, I basically handed him, I think, the first starter set, and I said, just pick one from there. Yeah. Because it's the first starter set. They all work, you know, they're not like crazy weird or anything like that. They work, you know, solid. You can't go too far wrong. And he was, I don't remember who he was the first one. Oh, he was King Arthur, and I chose Achilles, and I thought that would be, you know, it would just be a good straight up fight. Both. And he kicked my ass.
Which probably
in the first game, and he was just like,
probably,
yeah, cool.
To be
I
honest.
get how it works. Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
And then we probably played 6 games, you know, of it, and just kept picking new characters. And
see, I like that. I like. There's something to be said for kind of like rattling through a game and then sitting down after it, and like 15, 20 minutes, half an hour's passed, and you're just able to go again and pick a new character. It kind of reminds me, the Unmatched series, it reminds me a lot of the Funkoverse stuff, which
very much so
kind of had its day for a little while and then kind of disappeared. Now you can kind of pick up in kind of like home bargains and B&M. You occasionally find one kind of sitting there for like a $5, and I've always been tempted to kind of go back in. I remember I had access to, well, no, I had the Golden Girls one and the Jurassic Park one, and I
got the Jurassic Park one,
and it was super good fun. I liked the track that you had, that you moved your players back down once you kind of like done a kind of a special move. Yeah, the Unmatched games are a hell of a lot of fun. I do like them. I need to get. It's another one is like, it's one of those things I'd like to get my hands on again, but it's how often I would kind of play them and stuff like that. I've been doing a bit of a kind of a clear out where I've kind of looked at stuff and went, am I really seriously going to get this back to the table? And if not, am I not better just kind of holding my hands up and kind of punting it
It's one I know I wouldn't get rid of because I love the game. I think the game's absolutely brilliant. Yeah. And I also know that, you know, if we were having a game night, it was like, say there was 3 of us that were going to play, and then suddenly so-and-so pulls out. Yeah. I know we could just go, we'll just play a load of Unmatched then. Because I know even if they haven't played it, I could teach it in 5 minutes. Yeah. And we'll have a cracking time, you know. So it's you know, we just, and I don't, you know, like they had all the storage solution and stuff like that, and I actually, all right. I don't think you need the storage solution, because I like the fact that there's kind of the sets, so you can very quickly just go, okay, right, I'll take that set. And you just go, boom, there's your stuff. It's all organised quite nicely, you know. You just go, we'll just grab the board out of that one, boom, go. You know, it's all condensed within its own little boxes just fine. So yeah, I think it's a real good one. on that front of it can easily just replace game night at a drop of that, or happily, I would just say to a mate, just like, you happen to be busy on Friday or whatever, and if he's not, just say you fancy playing other games of Unmatched, and like I said, because it's 15-20 minutes a game, you put the world to rights, you just play a game and have a chat. Like his wife was doing what she was doing, and sort of come and have a chat with us, and in between this and that, and it doesn't break up the flow, because the flow is constantly being broken up by a new round anyway. So
yeah, exactly.
So yeah, it just works really nice in a sort of casual game night kind of feel.
Good stuff. Good stuff. The other thing I played, and I've been mucking about with it, and then I got it to the table, and I've been mucking about with it some more. It's kind of like Fractured Sky.
Right.
So I wrote some words about it, and I'm kind of like, and you can read them on the blog. I'm not going to go into it in a bit, but the bottom line is basically, here's a game that looks absolutely wonderful, that doesn't need to look absolutely wonderful, that has a very, very solid game that you could get away with playing with kind of cardboard chits. Because I went into it, I've seen some games which have been Kickstarter darlings, and you get them, and everything about it is the bling. There's absolutely nothing underneath that doesn't excite you or anything like that.
Or the bling gets in the way of playing the game, and
it does.
It makes it harder to play the game, and
I think there's a lot a lot of quality of life stuff about Fractured Sky, but there's also, I was gonna go in and say, oh, here we go, something, this looks absolutely stunning, but unfortunately, but actually there's an awful lot about it which I kind of went, yeah, I kind of like this. And you know what, it's kind of one of these things that if it was in like a Blitzkrieg kind of box, if it was that size with cardboard counters and stuff like that, you're not missing anything by not having the extra kind of plastic and components. Now, to me, that's a good thing. Some people might say, well, obviously, fundamentally, they would have started this game using cardboard chits and components and then built it up to make it look as it does. And if it's a solid game, then it's good. But obviously, I've got that. But I've written some words on the blog. It's one of the games that I walked away thinking about it, and then I was thinking about it the next day and thinking about, should I have done this, and went actually back to the table with it, and then, oh yeah, you can do this and you can do that. So it's kind of interesting. I've obviously been looking at so no, that's kind of cool. In terms of, bloody dog keeps coming in and out. He's like he comes in, he sits down.
If you will install a revolving door in your office, then
that's what it is. I'm thinking just going to
you're
have
low
it
onto yourself.
Continually go around. It's good because he does clean the bottom of the glass, the difficult stuff with his coat.
To be fair, there is one other game that I have played, which I played after Oathsworn the other night.
What was that?
Because I always I make sure there's a few sort of card games to hand, just in case story section doesn't take quite as long as we thought, or something like that. And I'd mentioned to the guys that I'd played this game, Cat in a Box, at AirCon, and it was real, it's got this kind of mind-blowing aspect. Have you played Cat in a Box?
No. Is it dead or is it alive? I've not. Do you know what?
It's as in Schrodinger's cat.
Schrodinger's cat, yeah. Is it a... Oh,
that is the theme.
I was just guessing.
So this is from Bezier Games. It's a trick-taking game. So, but it does some cool stuff. So, trick-taking games, every time I play them, I'm like, I want to love it. I love the idea of trick-taking games, but I suck at them, but it doesn't stop me enjoying them, But I know I haven't. I'm not one of these people who grew up playing like trick-taking games with your grand kind of thing and stuff like that, which a lot of people did with these style of games. We did play some card games, but not that I particularly remember what they were. So yeah, the whole the tactics and strategies of trick-taking games aren't like ingrained in my head. But I played Cat in a Box at Aircon, and so most trick-taking games, in fact all I think, you often have like 4 suits, and one of those is the trump suit. So to win a trick, you play a card down, and you start off the suit, and somebody has to lay a card higher than it, or a trump card, to win that trick. In Cat in a Box, it's one of the trick-taking games where you say at the beginning of the round how many tricks you think you're going to win, and you get a bonus for that. And what happens is, so the cards in your hand are just 1 to 9. No colour on them, no suit on them. And you have a grid in front of you that has 1 to 9 in a row of green, yellow, blue, and red. Red being the trump suit. So when you lay a card, so you will say you have a bunch of little acrylic tokens, and then you have a little board in front of you that says 1, 2, or 3, and it has a little thing for each colour and a token on those over a cross on those colours. And at the beginning of the round, you'll say you're going to win 1, 2, or 3 tricks. Your opponents will do the same thing, and then one of you starts. So you lay down a card that is black, but has a number on it, and you take one of your tokens, and on the grid you assign the number that it is and what colour you're saying the suit is. Then nobody can ever play that card again. So if you sit there and say you start with a yellow, you say, right, this is a yellow 3, you put your thing out in a yellow 3, nobody can ever play a yellow 3 again. So then everybody else will go around playing their card and putting their tokens on this grid. And then at any point that you can't play a card because the grid is filling up, you have what's called a paradox. So, and that ends the round. And the person who caused the paradox, they will lose points equal to the amount of tricks that they had won. And then everybody else, you'll win. You'll get a point for every trick that you won, but you will also get, if you guessed correctly as to how many tricks you were going to win, you get points equal to the largest contiguous section of your tokens on this board. So you've got this like area control kind of thing going on.
Oh,
and it's brilliant, and it's such a cracking game, and it blew my mind when I first played it. And then I happened to see a copy come up for sale on one of the Facebook groups, and I thought, I'm definitely going to get that, because it's quite annoyingly expensive for what is essentially a small trick-taking game, but it's a very nicely produced. You've got like the board all the boards are dual layered. You've got all these little acrylic tokens, and you've got a nice deck of cards. So it's still in only a little box, but it's like, I think it retails at best part £30. And for a little trick-taking game, that's
Stella Artois.
You can see where the money is. That's the trouble. You can see where the money is. Yeah, but it's still a little trick-taking game. So it's like, it's hard to justify that. I mean, I paid £20 for it second hand, and I was like, that's as much bargain as I can do. Yeah, and in that sense, it's a bargain. And like I say, trick-taking games, they're a game I want to love, but there's very few that I go, that's the one for me kind of thing. And this, all of my mates absolutely loved it, like really, truly loved it. It's such a bloody hard game to teach when you're first starting off.
Can imagine.
But it's brilliant. It's so brilliant. Like, absolutely.
Have you played Brian Boru from Osprey?
I have played Brian Boru. Yes, yeah.
See, that's a nice little kind
very clever. I loved the trick-taking aspect of that.
Yeah, that was a nice little trick-taking game where you didn't feel you were kind of like in your face kind of trick-taking. It was almost in some cases you were.
That was so
passively
not
doing it.
It's like, I think if you really understood trick-taking games, you had a distinct advantage in Brian Boru. But it did a good job of, I think, realising that not everybody was going to have a bloody clue how to do trick-taking games. So you didn't feel like... at that point, I had played very few trick-taking games. In fact, maybe one or two when I played Brian Boru. I played that with the Game Pit podcast gentleman, in fact, at one of the aircons.
Is that Sean at the Game Pit podcast?
Sean and Ronan of the Game Pit podcast.
Okay.
They're saying.
Okay.
But yeah, it really, really good.
You'll be saying you played games with Dan from the Sporadically Bored podcast next. That's what you'll be saying. I mean,
more times. In fact, it was him that taught me Cat in a Box.
Oh, for goodness sake. You know what would have happened if he'd seen that at 30 quid? He went, I'm not paying those prices.
Well, this is the thing. I'm pretty sure it was his copy we played.
So he did play. So he's living a lie. He did actually pay those prices.
Oh, I'm pretty sure I've been ripped off for my 20 quid, but I'm pretty sure after Aircon I looked for a copy of Cat in a Box and I was like, bloody hell, that's a bit much. I don't think I fancy paying those prices. And I'm pretty sure it was reasonably expensive.
So the problem is if you search on various places, it just says, do you mean cat litter box?
I just use board game prices. Yeah, see, the cheapest one on board game prices is $27.24.
It's like 35
and that's
quid.
Discounted for a tenner. Exactly.
No, that's
so you see what I mean? That's why when I first played it, I was just like, that's fine.
I've seen the deluxe. The deluxe edition is like about 35 quid. So
but that's the thing. I haven't seen a version that's not the deluxe version. So, I suppose you could have cardboard chits instead of acrylic tokens, and you could have things that weren't dual layer boards. So it's definitely doable. But like I say, I've never seen it. I've only ever seen that box version of it.
Are you going to get the same experience? I mean, that's what it comes down to. Is it going to have the best? It's definitely nice.
It's definitely nicely produced. Very nicely produced.
That's what we like to do.
But yeah, loved it. Just so great.
I'm hoping that this managed to get recorded. Before we wrap up, okay, as I say, I'm going to make this promise to you. I've got there's 2 games I want to get to the table, and then I'll hand over to you, and you can tell us the games you want to get to the table. Mm-hmm. Mythic Mischief.
Good game. Really good.
I'm not going to say anything more about that. And keeping in the Mythic line, let's get Mythic battles to the table. Let's try.
You should have a mythical week, sir. That's what you should have.
So just get it to the table, get it played, and get it kind of out there. What about yourself? Is there anything you're trying to get to the table that you would like to play?
There's a couple of things I really want to play. One of my mates, the one I played Unmatched, he said, we should play some Rumble Slam soon.
Yes.
Because we haven't played it for a little while. And I really want to play some Rumble Slam because it has been a little while since I got to play it. So yeah, I'd really like to play Rumble Slam soon. I picked up from German Amazon, because I just fancied picking up. I picked up this Kabanga.
Oh wow, okay.
Which is a fun looking little Amigo game. I didn't know much about it, and I just thought, I like a little Amigo game from time to time. So I picked it up and it sounds fun. Sounds like it's good. And I picked up the new version of Silver and Gold. Pyramids, it's called.
Okay.
I'd always wanted to try Silver and Gold, but I never kind of came across a copy. And it was relatively inexpensive on Amazon. So on Amazon Germany, Amazon.de. So I picked those up because I don't think you can actually get them in England yet. So
are they language? I take it they're language independent.
Yeah,
then
Kabanga is just numbers on a card.
All right, okay, that's
and cool. Silver and Gold is just grid based stuff on cards and Tetris shapes. So yeah, it's all the rule books are all in German, so I've got to sort that out. But I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, Rumble Slam. And I really, 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 going back to Star Wars, I really want to play some Star Wars Legion. Me and my mate, we haven't played it for ages. It's Star Wars.
I
love Star Wars Legion so much.
I see people kind of selling. I think some people they don't get it to the table enough, and then they sell everything, and it's usually really, really highly painted, and they're just like, I've had enough of it. I see that's the same thing happen with Shatterpoint.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of Shatterpoint being sold, which surprises me, and Marvel Crisis Protocol. But I think it's just, I think it's more. It's not that the games are ever struggling. It's just that we have access to so many more games than we ever used to, and the ability to move them on. That's, I think, I've still got all my crap from 40k for all those years ago, just because there wasn't really anywhere to sell it, kind of thing. You just kept hold of it, kind of thing. So I think the ability to actually move stuff on relatively easily and get a decent whack back from it, and so many people now they play the hell out of something and they move on to the next shiny thing, and they pay for it by selling a bit of the old shiny thing,
But I also think that some people buy a lot of the shiny thing and then don't get it played, and then have kind of like, they have a kind of, I've got all of this, I need to kind of get rid of it, and people kind of get, I'm just not getting it to the table, and it's like, it's almost like, well, if you'd only bought 2 factions or 3 ships, you might be kind of like in a different place, but it's different. I mean, it's difficult to do that. I've got a lot of Star Wars Armada, and that's because for a while, when anybody asked me, what do you want for birthday, what do you want for Christmas, it's like, it's Star Wars Armada. Yeah.
There's a bloody
and then it did go through that point where a lot of places were just like, when Fantasy Flight Games lost, or just abandoned it, people couldn't sell it for anything. They were just selling it for dirt cheap before it got kind of taken over. I think it's Atomic Mass that have got Armada, or is it somebody else?
I don't know. I think Fantasy Flight still have Armada and X-Wing. Yeah. Well, no, do they? All right,
okay. I don't know. I think somebody else.
I know Atomic Mass has Legion now.
Yes.
That was with Fantasy Flight. But I don't know if they've got... Okay. They might have moved all of the miniatures over. I wouldn't trust Fantasy Flight with anything anymore.
Yep. I've heard that.
Certainly not a CCG, that's for sure.
Star Wars Destiny.
Yeah.
It's like Simon Pegg
I trust
said
them with
about...
a living card game. That's all I trust them with.
Simon Pegg said that about the Phantom Menace. It's been 3 years and it still hurts. It's like, it's the same with Destiny, you know what I mean? It's been 5 years and it still hurts, Fantasy Flight. We're not going to let you go. But speaking of letting us go, we need to disappear over the hill where we came from. If you've listened along tonight and you like what you've listened to, there's a couple of places that you can find us on the internet webs. And if you are going to find us on the internet webs, and just go to We're Not Wizards and search for us and you shall find us. If you want to find us in particular places, jump on Spotify and find us on there and drop us a rating or a review, or tell other people about us, because we'd like to have more people along listening to the show. If you are going to be giving us a rating or review, remember, don't give us 10 stars because it makes us just so big-headed. But don't give us 1 star because it makes us cry. Give us something in the middle, like a 5, because it's average and we're just a little bit average. But there's only one other thing to do, and that is to say goodbye. So thanks for listening. It's a goodbye from me.
Fare thee well.
Fare thee well? What?
Fare thee well. I wanted to talk like a medieval knight. Fare thee well, young squire.
Remember, stay safe, roll 6s, make something awful, and...
stay spicy. Still great.
Stay as these spicy. But until the next time, goodbye. Go on then.
Bye-bye.
Right, okay. For goodness sake. Very well. Stay spicy.
A wizard is never late. Nor is he early. He arrives precisely when he means to.